Certainly he's been much more popular when it comes to the opinion polls, and alongside the opinion polls of comparing Julia Gillard with her opposition leader Tony Abbott has been comparing her to her supposed colleague Kevin Rudd. And for many months now, for the best part of a couple of years, Kevin Rudd has been much more popular. So he will certainly get that bounce, and that will mean, of course, a whole host of people across the country. 71 Labor members in local seats will become more popular, but that will only be short term. He's got to somehow keep hold of that bounce, get a bit of a break on the opposition, perhaps change the debate somewhat, change a couple of key policies, such as perhaps those on asylum seekers or the carbon tax, and try to take the fight back up to the opposition. So there's no doubt he'll get a bounce. It's whether he can hang on to that all the way to the election, and we don't know yet when that's going to be. One strategy that's been mooted so far is an early election, but Kevin Rudd on that score is keeping his cards pretty close to his chest.
Let's talk a little bit about the economy there in Australia. With China slowing down, we've seen Australia slowing down as well. Is there much of a difference between Kevin Rudd and the opposition leader Tony Abbott in terms of what their economic plans are?
Well, Tony Abbott says his biggest difference will be to cut the carbon tax, to completely stop the carbon tax, to legislate to remove that. That's about a 10% tax when it comes to emissions. It's mainly on the biggest companies now, but it will spread on to things such as diesel trucks moving around Australia. Other things that Tony Abbott would do would be to cut the mining tax. Now, when it comes to both of those policies, we don't yet know what Kevin Rudd would do. He hasn't spoken about the mining tax. He hasn't spoken about what he might do with the carbon tax, although the hint is he'll take that back to an emissions trading scheme, which would actually cost Australia's economy in terms of the government revenue, but perhaps be a bit of a shot in the arm for the economy generally. So they're probably the two key parts of policy. There's a lot of other rhetoric outlined by Tony Abbott when he's spoken about things such as red tape and removing those sort of barriers and giving boosts to small business. But you've got essentially some broad outlines from the opposition and not, in some areas, wholly identified policies. And from Kevin Rudd, he's inherited policies from Julia Gillard, and we don't yet know what changes he might make. So it's pretty close to the election. We think we're only probably 2-3 months away at best, but you've got now both sides not really outlining entirely what they might do in many areas, including the economy.